Welcome to the Trump Breaking News Network, your daily source for up-to-the-minute Trump news. Join us today and every day. Here's today's news.
This is TBNN.
Here's why they really want Trump taken out. It has the very same reason Deep State did 9/11 and started the fake war on terror. State of the nation. Why are they so desperate to take down the Trump administration? Here's the short story, as well as the carefully hidden backstory. Technological singularity, when pushing the edge of the envelope, pushes the button on the planetary civilization. SOTN editor's note. Many will be quick to dismiss this urgent analysis. They do so at their peril. Who among us is not witnessing the freefall collapse of American society? How does all of Western civilization crash and burn in a day and a night? That's right, there is something going on utterly concealed from almost everyone except those agents of Deep State who are involved in a specific, ultra-classified black project. If one were to look at the meteoric and unprecedented acceleration of scientific discoveries and technological advancement over just the past 100 years, it becomes readily apparent that the singularity is right around the corner. The real problem with this quickly unfolding scenario is that the scientists are not guided by moral authority or spiritual wisdom. It's as though they are unaware toddlers playing with sticks and stones in a sandbox, only they are really playing with the primordial forces of creation in exceedingly high-tech laboratories without any oversight. However, it has their overly ambitious drive to achieve the undisclosed end goal of this multi-decade black project that has societies and nations everywhere in a tailspin. Caveat: until a critical mass of good folks get wind of this ongoing and exceptionally precarious venture and respond appropriately, many of the best and brightest will be totally engaged in a race to the bottom. And so they are. Very few really understand, but every major media event that is going on in the world today is manufactured by Deep State. Most of these sensational and obviously staged dramas fall into one of the following three categories: I. Purposeful distraction, 2. Intentional misdirection, and 3. Deliberate diversion. Non-stop wars and rumors of wars. The devastating wars and incessant rumors of wars, the predicted pandemics and man-made epidemics, the geoengineered droughts and deluges worldwide, the HAARP-induced monster hurricanes and tornado swarms, the looming twin threats of a global stock market crash and/or economic collapse, the continuous forecasts of supervolcano eruptions and mega-earthquakes are all being disseminated by the mainstream media, MSM, like never before. These types of articles and press releases were usually the stuff of conspiracy websites, fake news sites and extreme fringe news platforms. No longer is that the case. The apocalypse and Armageddon have become standard fare in MSM news reporting. Some of these once fringe topics are actually featured by some of the largest corporate media platforms on the planet. For what reason? There is never just one reason to conduct such a highly coordinated campaign of synthetic chaos, confusion and commotion. In fact, there are many purposes behind all the warmongering and false flag terror events, as well as other mayhem-producing mischief. However, there is primarily one reason that reigns supreme in the minds of TPTB, who are also known as the power elite, the Illuminati and the NWO globalist cabal. As follows. The techno-scientific class, which is completely beholden to the power elite, is fast approaching technological singularity. If and when this zero-point moment is reached, everything changes on planet Earth. That watershed event will quickly catalyze transformation of the global civilization. And once that occurs, there is no way to put the genie back in the bottle. To understand only the small tip of the iceberg of technological singularity, the following exposition is well worth the read. It does represent only the very tip because virtually all of the deepest scientific research and most advanced technological development is occurring completely out of sight. Autonomous superintelligence, the mad scientists don't even know what they don't know. Taking out Trump. Perhaps the only two leaders in the world today who really grasp the dangers associated with technological singularity are Presidents Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Having a genuinely religious orientation, Both heads of state apprehend the extreme jeopardy that this high level of technological advancement has put humanity in. Furthermore, both Trump and Putin are in the position to do more to prevent the so-called perfection of autonomous intelligence than any other world leaders. Were they to form a compact to ban this unique marriage of advanced scientific know-how and applied technology, this perilous enterprise could be ended permanently in the US and Russia. And, the unbridled research and reckless experimentation in other countries could be terminated via sanctions and other punitive measures. Key point: both Putin and Trump possess a religious understanding, which predisposes them to embracing the notion of spiritual singularity, not technological singularity. This very simple, yet crucial, common denominator makes it quite easy for them to make common cause for world peace. Both leaders are also aware that the quest for singularity is guaranteed to end in disaster for humankind. This is really why Deep State is on such a serious mission to take out Trump, and why they have worked triple time to keep him and Putin completely apart. Yes, as we have stated, TPTB do not want their New World Order agenda terminated. Nor do they want a USA-Russia collaboration or peace deal to shut down their perpetual war economy. Neither does the black nobility of Europe want the European Union or the United States to make common cause with Russia. New World Order, creation of the Venetian Black Nobility and Committee of 300. However, the bottom line here is that there is something much bigger that the power elites want to protect and promote at all costs: technological singularity by way of autonomous superintelligence. What has so risky about technological singularity via autonomous intelligence? There are many critical facets to this highly consequential and downright dangerous pursuit. From a purely practical standpoint, the global control matrix is literally cracking up in real time. Because of this ever-intensifying state of affairs, the true controllers of the realm can no longer administer the planetary civilization through the current crop of human and alien human hybrids. They require an earthbound superior intelligence that will proficiently pull the strings to keep the whole NWO ruse going ad infinitum. Anything short of that, and their entire multi-millennial ruse will soon be exposed. In other words, these self-proclaimed masters of the universe cannot rely on the humans who staffed the world's shadow government of yesteryear anymore. They are in desperate need of a superintelligent android race, who will be fully accepted by the present race of humanity to run the show. In the absence of this cyborg regime resulting from technological singularity, their one-world government scheme will founder with finality. And they know it. Technological singularity is their only hope. The world community of nations has never witnessed such a rapid succession of transparent and frenzied attempts to keep two men apart. The agents of Deep State, both covert and overt, are now jumping through hoops of fire daily while handcuffed, blindfolded and straitjacketed in an effort to keep Trump and Putin from another meet-up. The MSM has gone stark raving mad, in living color and during prime time, no less. The CIA's many MSM organs of propaganda are now well known the world over for their fake news about collusion with Russia. That these relentless psyops are designed to further inflame the bogus tensions has also become common knowledge. This has never happened before. The unparalleled desperation to prevent an accord between the two superpowers is tied directly to their strict timeline for mainstreaming the many essential societal byproducts of the new technological singularity paradigm. For their one-world government to work efficiently, they will strategically place their superhumanoids that possess autonomous intelligence in those key positions which currently call the shots. Incidentally, the command center of the global economic and financial system, GENFS, already has in operation various AI, artificial intelligence, systems and autonomous superintelligence, entities which have kept the whole house of cards from falling down. The architecturally flawed GENFS edifice has not collapsed only because of the oversight and repeated interventions by successive generations of AI systems over the years. The final point here is that a fully functioning as dictated regime would eventually destroy the human race as we know it. The biosphere would eventually be devastated, as the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. Action Plan, The American people have no choice but to take back their government with all deliberate speed. The current incarnation of the MSM must be terminated, the CIA must be dissolved, and the U.S. Congress must be purged of all traitors to the American Republic. Once these three compulsory endeavors are successfully completed, the process of reconstituting a substantially scaled-down federal government can begin in earnest. And not one moment before. Russia Sanctions Bill. The recent legislation that was passed by the U.S. Congress is not only illegal and unconstitutional, it is guaranteed to push Russia and the United States into war. Even a cursory reading of this extraordinarily cynical and manipulative law reflects its malevolent intent. But why is this aggressive legislation also targeting the European Union? Collateral damage. U.S. sanctions aimed at Russia strike Western European allies. That overwhelming majorities in both the House and Senate voted for it is indicative of how far the U.S. government has fallen. There is no way that any member of Congress did not know that such an unlawful bill will doom the USA, as it also scuttles all efforts toward world peace. What this hugely sad episode really illustrates is how completely controlled America's elected officials have become. It is as though these political animals were selected for their vulnerability to implement a nefarious agenda, for example technological singularity. Or, at the very least, politicians who were chosen who would not impede this catastrophic undertaking. Clearly, the traitors who now populate all three branches of the U.S. federal government were vetting by a process, by a system, by an entity that strictly subscribes to the notion of ponerology. Only with this central organizing principle at the leadership level and at the operation level is such strict discipline able to be enforced government-wide. Who, or what, is the main enforcer of this ponerological paradigm, especially at this critical point in world history is the real concern. Ponerization, how the American Republic was taken over by political cliques of criminally insane psychopaths. Conclusion. There can only be one conclusion. The Trump-Putin relationship is crucial to the salvation of the entire planetary civilization. Hence, the American people, and particularly the patriotic Trump movement, is obligated to act. Nothing less than the hot phase of World War III looms on the horizon should the U.S. citizenry fail to rein in their seditious representatives. The witch hunt started to burn both Trump and Putin at the stake must be stopped post-haste. Their pivotal collaboration represents the only hope for the world at this decisive moment of human history. Prophetic, Edgar Cayce Russia the hope of the world. Putin's Russia is prominently configured in the future revolution of humanity and must be assisted at every turn. Today's Kremlin is populated by righteous men whose clear judgment has thus far saved the world from one certain calamity. Therefore, the American body politic ought to do everything possible to preserve whatever is left of America's relationship with the Russian Federation. Not only is the body politic compelled to take back their government from those who have stolen it, they must eradicate every single traitor from U.S. soil. However, this task can only begin by first prosecuting the members of Congress who are guilty of treason. The John McCains and Lindsey Grahams, Adam Schiffs, and Nancy Pelosi's, Chuck Schumer's and Maxine Waters must be arrested, incarcerated, and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Of course, there are many other traitors, who are no longer in government, who also must be dealt with swiftly and surely. Truly, the Second American Revolution has begun. And Donald Trump is the George Washington of the third millennium.
That's the news. Join us here every day. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell. See you next time.
This is TBNN.